Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joseph Donnelly. I'm the Adult Services Librarian for the Jersey Free Public Library, and my guest presenter is Shirley R. Vernick, who grew up in Messina, New York, the very place where her first debut novel, The Blood Lie, takes place. Her second young adult book is Remembering Dippy, a 13-year-old boy, unlike friendship, autistic cousin over one memorial summer, won the 2014 Skipping Stones Honor Award, as well as the Dolly Gray Children's Literature Award. Her latest book is The Black Butterfly. It's a natural coming-of-age story, is available now. She graduated from Cornell University, where she was awarded the university's Fleischman Scholarship for Writing Achievement. Her work has appeared in national magazines, newspapers, and university publications. She also edited a science journal that was distributed to all the physicians in Russia and created an award-winning program to help American doctors help their patients quit smoking. Good afternoon, Shirley. How are you?
Hi, good. Thanks, Joe. Glad to be here.
You're more than welcome. I read your book, Remembering Dippy. It's about, and it was a great book. It's about cousin Johnny takes, is it Johnny?
Yes.
Johnny takes, his mother has to go away to do a job, and he's going to stay with his aunt and his cousin Remember. That's how.
That's right.
Because mother is very bohemian. Would you say?
I
Very
would say exactly that.
like those crystals and things, and the thing about Remember is he has autism, or maybe on the Asperger's.
He's on the spectrum.
He's on the spectrum.
Probably toward Asperger's, but on the spectrum.
So he promised to watch Remember all summer long. His mother works. Remember's mother works at store at 7-Eleven. And so his daily duties take care of him, keep an eye on him, make sure he's fed, and go out and play, things that kids do. But Remember is a very special kid. That's true, right?
Yes.
And there's two programs that he likes most. That's the Weather Channel and Jeopardy. And here's a question: why did you know somebody like this? What was your interest in writing this book? And
yes, I do count several what I'll call neurodiverse people among my family and my friends and the children of my friends. So I very much had those people in mind as I wrote and I was getting motivated to write. Beyond that, the reason for wanting to write a book featuring a main character with autism for young readers is this. Autism is sometimes called the invisible condition because barring any other conditions, people with autism don't look any different. But I feel that especially with youngsters, that term invisible is a little misleading because kids can detect behavioral and sort of personality differences a mile off. I mean, I think we can all remember growing up with somebody who was just behaviorally or cognitively enough different that we branded them that way. And we probably didn't care whether it was an autism spectrum thing or something else. We just knew that they weren't our definition of normal, much less our gold standard of cool. And, maybe we responded to them in not the best way. Maybe we were afraid. Maybe we felt aversion or just standoffishness. So that was those were things that were really on my mind as I was writing and getting ready to write the book. So I wanted to write a story that was, first and foremost, a good read. But and also a good read that features a character with cognitive and behavioral differences, but who is also more than those differences, who is living his own full, authentic life on his own terms. And I wanted to help show readers that a person's differences are not their only defining traits. For example, remember Dippy. Yes, he has autism, and that does distinguish him in some ways. But in other ways, he's a typical 15-year-old boy who likes video games and girls.
Yeah.
And some of the what might be called neuronormative characters, like Johnny and his friends, they all had things going on too that made them different.
Yes.
Whether it was their living situation or their ethnicity or their fashion taste or something like that. So I wanted to show that, normal and different sometimes aren't that far apart. And aren't that far apart in the ways that you might think. So my real hope is that readers would take away from this the rich potential for unexpected, even improbable friendships with people that they never thought that they would have any common ground with, or with whom they would enjoy each other's company. So it's really beyond a story about autism. It's a story about resilience, acceptance, loyalty, and unexpected friendships.
That's why I saw a lot in the book, because Johnny, very patient dealing with his cousin. I mean, with all the going to the pizza parlor, and Dippy remember says my shoes hurt, and I said, well, and then he threw a tantrum, says you can wear my flip flops and you can walk to the pizza parlor. So he liked pizza, and he had his two favorite animals, the parrots, and Johnny's friends remember, because he had that genius of playing the video games where
That's
he
right.
got into the next level.
That's right.
And then we know he started becoming a little much of a flirt with the girls in the group, especially the older one who comes from Chicago and had to, I can't remember her name.
Leisha,
yeah. And Johnny was more interested in his friend's sister, but something was always going on that he wanted to get close to her, and there was always some sort of disaster or something, like the situation with Dirk across next door, who was always bullying them. And did you ever think of writing a sequel to this book?
interesting question. Thank you. The short answer is no, I never did. In the way that I have with some of my other books. And I think the reason for that is that I don't like to completely tie my stories up with a bow. So you know how everything turned out and everything is in its box. I like to bring the reader to a certain point with the characters where, the reader can understand the characters and the story arc and sort of guess what's going to happen, but there may be a few different avenues it could go. And I felt like that with Remember Dippy, the characters had done the growing that they needed to do, and the interacting and the bonding that they needed to do and made the decisions that they needed to do so that the reader could say, okay, they're in a good place now, even if it's sort of a not totally stable, because you don't know exactly how it's going to turn out. But I know them well enough that I could imagine, what might happen. That's how I like to leave the reader.
And his remembers mother who works at 7-Eleven. She had a special interest in a man that keeps coming into the store, and Johnny was like curious about this because, and remember says, "Oh, what happens if mom got married? And what would happen to us?" And it's like, whoa, you're going way too far ahead there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Maybe going way too far ahead, and maybe just saying out loud what was on everybody else's
everybody,
minds,
come on.
but they were too, indoctrinated into how you're supposed to talk and when you're supposed to talk to say it out loud.
Yes. And there's a lot of humor to this book, a lot of maturity, and some romance in this, and there's a lot of different genres in this one little book together. And Johnny thought remembers friend who kept coming to the house but not seeing him was like, oh, he was here today. And it's like, when was this? So it's like, didn't realize he talked about his neighbor next door every time he comes mows the lawn. And remember was very generous and very kind-hearted to the neighbor who broke his leg and more about the dog. And then they went on the bus to go to the hospital to visit him.
Right.
And that was interesting, especially bringing an autistic child on the bus, because you don't know how they're going to react to things. But I think you opened the gates for other people to write books about vulnerable autism and other disabilities, because there's other books out there now. And I think you're the first person to lead the way for the.
Oh, that's very kind of you to say.
Yes, because there's been more and more books lately with with that deals with autism, Asperger's, blind, visual impairments, and things like that. So I think you're one of the first real people to do
Thank you.
that. This is just us. It's like nobody else is here, but I enjoyed the book, and hopefully I'll get a chance and read the other books that you have. And you have
Terrific.
2 more coming out?
I do. One, which is coming out in February of 2022, is called Ripped Away. It's also a book for young readers, and it's a time travel story where a boy and a girl go to a fortune teller's, and she ends up giving them sort of a prophecy that they might be able to save somebody's life. And before they can ask any questions, the kids get whisked off to the poor side of London, smack dab in the middle of the Jack the Ripper spree.
Ooh.
So they've got to figure out this, who are they supposed to save and how are they supposed to save the person so that they can get back home. But they also have to survive, the dangers of Jack the Ripper, the dangers of living in the tenements, and the unfortunate great outpouring of anti-Semitism that the Ripper murders triggered. So
Very
that's that one. And Falling Stars, which is either going to come out in late this year or early next year, is it's based on a true World War II story. It takes place in both Japan and the US, and is about the only case of civilian fatalities in the continental US from World War II.
Oh, you mean when the Japanese or on some reason they floated bats on balloons and floated them across and
That's right.
started forest fires in Washington and Oregon.
That's right. That's
Yeah, oh,
right.
that was something I want to read. Absolutely, because there are many stories I've been hearing about that from other
Right.
books that I've read. So oh yeah, well, definitely, I'm definitely going to on. Or once we reopen, I'm going to invite you and you talk about the time, the time book, and
Okay. Terrific.
mhm,
Terrific.
and to Jersey to come to our library and do a program in person.
Fabulous. I'd be
Yes,
honored.
yes.